Welcome to Education Unpacked, the podcast that dives deep into the systems shaping our future. Today, we're tackling a topic that affects nearly every family in America, the quality of K-12 education. Did you know that a recent study found that only about a third of American 15-year-olds have proficiency in reading, math, and science? That's a pretty stark statistic, isn't it?
That statistic is indeed concerning. The current K-12 system in the U.S. is a vast, complex network, largely state and district-run, with a standardized curriculum and assessment model that's been in place for decades. While it has served many, it's clear we're facing significant challenges in ensuring a high-quality education for all students.
Exactly. And that's precisely why our thesis today is that the current K-12 system, while foundational, faces significant quality issues that necessitate a serious exploration of viable alternatives. We're not here to tear down the existing system, but to understand its shortcomings and look for ways to improve, innovate, and perhaps even reimagine what education can be. So, what's on the agenda for today's discussion? We'll start by defining what quality in education truly means, moving beyond just test scores. Then, we'll delve into the persistent challenges within the current K-12 framework. After that, we'll explore some exciting alternative educational models, including the rise of homeschooling and microschools, and the role of technology. Finally, we'll touch upon potential policy changes and systemic reforms before wrapping up with actionable steps for our listeners. Let's kick things off by asking the fundamental question. What does a high-quality education truly entail? Is it simply about achieving a certain score on a standardized test, or is there something more profound at play?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? While test scores can offer a snapshot, they often fail to capture the full picture of a student's development. A truly high-quality education should foster critical thinking, encourage creativity, and equip students with robust problem-solving skills. It's about learning how to learn, how to adapt, and how to innovate.
Absolutely. We need to be preparing students not just for the next grade, but for the complex, rapidly evolving future workforce, and for engaged, informed citizenship. This means cultivating curiosity, communication skills, and the ability to collaborate effectively.
And crucially, we can't talk about quality without discussing equity and access. A high-quality education is one that is accessible to all students, regardless of their background, socioeconomic status, or location. True quality means leveling the playing field and providing every child with the opportunity to reach their full potential.
Now that we've established a broad definition of quality, let's turn our attention to some of the significant hurdles the current K-12 system faces in achieving it. One of the most persistent issues is funding disparities.
You're spot on. These disparities often translate directly into vastly different resources available to schools. We see it in outdated textbooks, inadequate technology, overcrowded classrooms, and critically, in the ability to attract and retain high-quality teachers. Schools in underfunded districts often struggle to offer competitive salaries, leading to higher teacher turnover and less experienced educators.
And beyond funding, there's the issue of curriculum limitations. The pressure to perform well on standardized tests often leads to a phenomenon known as teaching to the test. This can narrow the curriculum, stifle creativity, and reduce the focus on deeper learning and critical thinking skills we discussed earlier.
That's exacerbated by the immense pressure on teachers themselves. Burnout is a serious problem, contributing to low morale and high attrition rates. Many teachers feel undervalued, underpaid, and lack adequate professional development opportunities to stay current with best practices or innovative teaching methods. It's a vicious cycle that impacts student outcomes.
And we can't ignore the profound influence of socioeconomic factors. Students facing poverty, food insecurity, or unstable housing situations often come to school with challenges that impact their ability to learn. The education system, as it stands, often struggles to adequately address these external factors, further widening the achievement gap. Given these challenges, it's natural to look for alternatives. There's a growing interest in various educational models that diverge from the traditional public school structure. We're talking about approaches like Montessori, Waldorf, and project-based learning, each with its own unique philosophy. I'd love to hear more about those. For instance, what's the core difference between, say, Montessori and Waldorf?
Montessori, developed by Maria Montessori, emphasizes child-led, self-directed activity with multi-age classrooms. It focuses on practical life skills, sensory exploration, and a carefully prepared environment. Waldorf education, on the other hand, founded by Rudolf Steiner, takes a more holistic approach, integrating academics with arts, music, and practical skills, often with a strong emphasis on imaginative play and storytelling, particularly in the early years.
And project-based learning? How does that fit in?
Project-based learning, or PBL, shifts the focus from traditional lectures to students working on engaging, real-world projects over an extended period. It inherently encourages critical thinking, collaboration, and problem-solving as students grapple with complex questions and produce tangible outcomes. It's very much about learning by doing.
The big question then becomes, is there evidence these alternatives are genuinely producing higher quality outcomes? And how scalable and accessible are they? Many of these models can be resource-intensive or require specialized teacher training, which can be a barrier for wider adoption. Beyond established alternative schools, we're also seeing a significant rise in more individualized learning environments, like homeschooling and microschools. What's driving this trend, and what do these look like?
The motivations for homeschooling are diverse. Some parents seek more flexibility. Others want to provide an education tailored to their child's specific needs or interests, or perhaps they're dissatisfied with the perceived quality or safety of traditional schools. Methodologies vary wildly, from structured, curriculum-based approaches to more eclectic, unschooling methods.
And microschools? I've heard that term popping up more frequently.
Microschools are essentially small, often private learning communities. They typically serve a small number of students, maybe 10 to 40, and often blend elements of homeschooling, traditional schooling, and personalized learning. They can be incredibly flexible and responsive to student needs, often with a strong emphasis on community and mentorship.
The pros are clear: highly personalized attention, tailored curriculum, and potentially a more supportive environment. But what about the cons? Are there regulatory concerns or issues with social integration for these students?
Absolutely. Regulatory oversight can be minimal, raising questions about accountability and educational standards in some cases. And while many homeschoolers and microschool families actively seek out social opportunities through co-ops and community activities, ensuring broad social development can require deliberate effort. It's a trade-off between intense personalization and the broader, sometimes serendipitous social interactions of a larger school setting.
Technology is another massive factor reshaping the educational landscape. EdTech is no longer just a buzzword. It encompasses online learning platforms, AI tutors, personalized learning software, and so much more. How is technology impacting K-12 education, both positively and negatively?
Technology has immense potential to supplement and even transform traditional schooling. Personalized learning software can adapt to a student's pace, offering targeted support or enrichment. Online platforms can provide access to a wider range of courses and resources, breaking down geographical barriers. AI tutors can offer immediate feedback and practice opportunities.
But that brings us to a critical point: the digital divide. Not all students have equal access to reliable internet or devices. How can we ensure that these technological advancements don't further exacerbate existing inequities?
That's a crucial challenge that requires systemic solutions. It means investing in infrastructure for underserved communities, providing devices and internet access to families who need them, and ensuring that educational technology is designed with accessibility and equity in mind from the outset. We also need robust teacher training so educators can effectively integrate these tools, rather than just having them as an add-on.
Are there any particular case studies or examples that stand out as successful technology integration?
Certainly. Many schools are using adaptive learning platforms to provide individualized math and reading practice, which has shown promise in helping students catch up or accelerate. Others are leveraging virtual reality for immersive science lessons or using collaborative online tools to facilitate group projects across different classrooms. The key is thoughtful implementation, focusing on pedagogical goals rather than just the technology itself.
We've discussed challenges and alternatives, but how do we move the needle on a larger scale? What kind of policy changes could truly foster higher quality K-12 education across the board?
That's a complex question with no easy answers. Addressing funding disparities through equitable funding formulas is paramount. Policies that support robust teacher training, professional development, and better compensation are essential for attracting and retaining talent. We also need policies that encourage innovation and flexibility within schools, allowing them to adapt to the evolving needs of students.
And what about school choice and charter schools? They're often presented as potential solutions, though they're certainly debated.
Yes, school choice and charter schools are part of the conversation. Proponents argue they offer parents more options and can drive innovation through competition. Critics raise concerns about public school funding, accountability, and potential segregation. Their impact is highly varied and depends heavily on the specific policies and contexts in which they operate. It's not a one-size-fits-all solution.
Ultimately, empowering educators and local communities to innovate seems crucial. When teachers and school leaders are given the autonomy and support to experiment with new approaches tailored to their specific student populations, that's where we often see the most promising breakthroughs.
And bridging the gap between educational research and classroom practice is vital. We have a wealth of knowledge about effective teaching and learning, but it often takes far too long for those insights to be implemented system-wide. Policies that facilitate this translation are key to genuine reform.
We've covered a lot of ground today, from the challenges facing our current K-12 system to a diverse array of promising alternatives and the role of technology and policy. It's clear that quality in education is multifaceted, encompassing critical thinking, creativity, equity, and preparation for the future.
The persistent issues of funding disparities, teacher burnout, and the impact of socioeconomic factors are significant hurdles we must continue to address. But the exploration of models like Montessori, Waldorf, project-based learning, homeschooling, and microschools, alongside technological innovations, offers a hopeful glimpse into what's possible.
So, what can our listeners do? Advocate for equitable school funding in your local districts. Support policies that invest in teacher professional development and well-being. Stay informed about different educational approaches and engage in conversations within your communities about what constitutes a high-quality education for all children.
Educating our children is one of the most critical investments we can make in our collective future. It requires ongoing dialogue, a willingness to adapt, and a commitment to ensuring every student has the opportunity to thrive. The future of K-12 education in the U.S. is not set in stone. It's something we are actively shaping.
Thank you for joining us on Education Unpacked today. For more resources and further reading on the topics we discussed, please visit our website. And be sure to tune in next time when we'll be exploring